Hey folks, BlackCross here, and today I wanted to go ahead and do an update vlog video for you guys because I have some excellent news to talk about as well as some unfortunate news to talk about. So let's go ahead and get things started right now. First of all, thank you to a couple of people who showed up for the stream as of this past Tuesday. Thank you so much, guys. Honestly, I'm really glad that you guys showed up when you did. The reason why I wanted someone there was so that way I can make certain that the audio level is where it needs to be, because I was afraid that if I tried to do the audio differentiate that I'm normally used to recording, it may not match to some people who are listening on the other end. So it's always nice to get that feedback right then and there, and that way I know that the audio quality is where it needs to be at. Whereas if the gameplay audio is a little bit too much and I need to lower it, or maybe my audio isn't loud enough and I need to turn it up in some form of way. And the good news is that the audio level was good. And the stream, there are some good news and some kind of iffy news to talk about, but the overall overwhelming thing is that the news itself is that streaming is good. But to explain the situation is that I was using the Elgato originally. I was using the Elgato because of the fact that I'm used to it. And it has the ability to where you can stream with it. In fact, the Elgato itself was supposed to be fixed up to where you can do everything on that program, including being able to read the comments, to be able to view as to how many viewers are on there. The point is, they wanted to make the Elgato be the centerpiece of your streaming network. The problem was that they still haven't had it update to where you could receive messages through the Twitch stream itself. And that's something that I actually would like to do someday, but unfortunately I haven't figured out how to do that part. So for the time being, I'm having two separate windows open up. There's the streaming program itself, which is Twitch, and then there's the Twitch website itself, where I can actually view the comments for myself, to where I can read it and everything like that. But there was something that I noticed throughout the entire time that I was streaming, and it became an issue about after the 40-minute mark happened as I was recording. Apparently what happened was that not once did the video drop, and by drop I mean cut itself from streaming. Back whenever I was living at the house with my mother, for some reason the stream would cut off after a certain point in time where it would drop. Basically the longest that I streamed was 15 minutes before it dropped, and that was the longest. The normal ratio was between a minute and 5 minutes at best. This time it did not drop at all. However, though, there was an issue where the frame rate could not be produced over 30 frames per second for some reason. And I noticed that within the Elgato, it kept popping up a little message and a red dot indicating that it could not produce 30 frames per second. And you would think being 30 frames per second, being that the lowest ratio, I suppose you could say, is a good ratio to stick with. Unfortunately, that's not always the case. And in this case, not only did it mess up in terms of the Twitch stream itself, it also messed up in terms of me being able to record. In other words, if I had continued leaving it where it was, eventually something would have broke. Either the actual internet connection would have broke because my recording device couldn't produce that, or my recording device would eventually crash because it was having complications with being able to stream 30 frames per second. So I had to do a lot of research as to how to fix this. Now, prior to this whole event, I kept hearing a lot of people tell me that I need to try to use OBS. And I was trying to think to myself, I was like, well, why would I want to use OBS? It's I've got a streaming recording device, so honestly, I don't need another one. So why should I? Well, it turns out the Elgato has issues when it comes to actually streaming on Twitch or any form of streaming network. It has a problem sometimes of streaming at 30 frames per second. And even with the best internet connection, sometimes it tends to lack in that area. So I was like, okay, so that might be why most people switch from the Elgato to OBS. So after looking into it and everything like that, I decided to download OBS to see how I can use it and as to what all I have to do. Because basically me getting a new program means that I have to relearn how to use this said program. So basically, the overall time that it took me to learn the entire system itself would have to be around probably 5 or 6 hours of like experimenting with it all, figuring out what works, what doesn't work, and everything like that. And then 2.5 hours of that total time would be me basically testing it on stream to see what happens. There's a settings where you can go lower than 30 frames per second, so I had it set at like 24 frames per second. And not once through that entire 2 hours and 30 minutes of streaming did it ever lag at all. In fact, if I had to be more decisive, while I was both streaming with that OBS system as well as the Twitch stream, it was a solid connection. There was no issues, there was no lag, there was nothing. I will admit the audio was a little bit crappy, but that was because the audio was being captured from my webcam, not from my recording device that I use for my audio, being that of the Yeti Snow Globe. So I got that fixed up now to where now, whenever I get ready to do the next stream, the audio should be a little bit better. But basically I had to like figure out how to use it, and then after I figured out how to use it, I then tested it out to see if it works, and it turns out it's probably the best that it's going to be, like the best that I personally think would be the best. Now, it may not be noticeable to some degree, but when I say whenever I start to do like PlayStation 4 or Xbox One or Nintendo Switch or anything like that for that matter, the current gen, it might be noticeable. But with that being said, I don't think it's to a point to where you can't really enjoy the quality of the video. I think, in all honesty, if I can keep it somewhere between 480 and 720 of video quality, I don't think frame rate should be an issue. At least that's me thinking that way, you know. I may not be 100% correct on that assumption, but to my opinion, when it comes to streaming, it's probably a good idea not to try to go for 1080p or, according to an update that Elgato presented, 4K resolution. Why we're making that huge step, I don't know, because the network isn't powerful enough to pull off 4K streaming. It just can't. Okay? I live in a small town. Okay? We're talking like something that is light years away of being able to be pulled off. And the biggest problem is that some of these internet companies don't get it through their head that we need a better system to pull off power like this. You know, you got some of the bigger cities that have that common sense of thinking that, hey, we need a better network to where people can stream these higher quality. For some reason, in this town, no one seems to get it yet. But beside the point, the good news is that as of next Tuesday, or this Tuesday, depending on when you see this video, I will be streaming from here on out. Now, that's not to say that it's permanent, because once I get done streaming, the video will then be uploaded onto YouTube later on. So for those of you that are wondering, well, what about YouTube? Don't worry, these videos will be re-uploaded onto YouTube to where you can watch it at any time. I will admit that I need to kind of get a set time fixed up, because the problem is that I have things going on afterwards when I'm done streaming and everything like that. So in other words, I'm always going to be busy. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to have it set to where I do like a time phase of like between 9 when I start to like 12 or 1 when I end. And the good news is that that's basically like 3 to 4 hours of streaming that I can do. But it depends on what all happens, because I still need to keep up with my sleep, of course, to where I can actually do my work activity at work, of course. And then there's also the fact that I do other things alongside what I do right now. So I'm kind of tied up when it comes to time crunching. So I need to kind of get myself set into a pattern to where I can still do Twitch streaming, but at the same time continue on my normal daily activities. Now that being said, I also need to kind of update you guys on this as well, being that since I'm doing Twitch, that means there are not going to be as much videos that are going to be uploaded onto YouTube as frequently as before. In fact, for the past month and a half now, I've been uploading like 2 videos a day practically. And there was 2 reasons why. Number 1 was because I had that many videos build up to begin with, and I had them build up in case, like, for some reason we didn't get internet until like a day or 2 after we moved in. But instead it came in on the day that we moved in, so I just decided, well, I got this many videos built up now, I can go ahead and upload 2 at a time. And that's what I did. And I was also trying to finish up The Witcher 3 as well as Tales of Berseria before I started to do Twitch streaming, because I didn't want that to interfere with Twitch streaming, because if it did, then I wouldn't get anything done really. But I will try to do like smaller other video projects from time to time, because me streaming during the first quarter of the day and then being able to do editing videos in the middle of the night, that gives me a chance to come up with better videos or stuff like that, you know, just more creative I don't know about creative videos being the word, but more frequent random videos rather than Let's Plays and stuff like that. So while you're still seeing Let's Plays, they're all going to be in like one compressed video. And by one compressed video, I mean like each Let's Play video is going to be comprised of like a good chunk of, like, I want to say 3 to 4 hours of gameplay, I want to say. So that's going to be interesting to see. Now, there are going to be a couple exceptions to this rule. Number 1 being that when I go into the DLCs, for example, there's still Episode Ignis that'll be coming out in December. I will not be live streaming that, as instead I will be playing that strictly for my channel. So in other words, you don't have to worry about looking me up later on Twitch. It will be uploaded onto YouTube as a normal thing. Now, I haven't decided if I want to do that all in one go, or if I want to do that in multiple parts. I have not decided yet. I'm sure I'll come up with the decision once it gets ready to be released, but until then, I have not fully decided as of yet. There's also the fact that The Witcher 3 DLCs, I still need to play through those 2 whenever I get a chance. Not to say that I'm going to do that literally within the next week or 2, but when I get the nerve to actually be able to pick up the DLC, then I will play those 2 DLC for you guys to continue the Witcher 3 experience. So the question is, though, will that be on stream? The answer is no, it will not be on stream. It will be at a regular upload on YouTube, so you'll get to see that. Basically, Twitch streaming is going to be strictly for any upcoming games that I'm going to be playing for Twitch. Like, for example, coming up this Tuesday, my first official game that I'm going to be streaming all the way through is going to be basically Final Fantasy 1. And I've been wanting to do this because I've been wanting to stream, or rather I wanted to play the Final Fantasy games, and I thought to myself, I was like, how about if we replay the entire Final Fantasy franchise, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, and 15. And I've been wanting to do this for a long time now. I was like, you know, technically December 18th is the official anniversary date for Final Fantasy. That was when it came out in Japan 30 years ago. So I figured Final Fantasy 1 will be a Christmassy video, considering that it marks the anniversary, or rather the official anniversary for Final Fantasy. So I figured, you know, why not? Makes sense. Plus, I've never played 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6. I know, crime against humanity at this point. But yeah, I've wanted to do it for so long, and now I'm going to finally get that chance that I've been wanting to do. And I know I'll be able to record 1, 2, 5, and 6 with no problem. Final Fantasy 3, on the other hand, there is a situation that's come up. The thing is that 3 never came out in America physically in an original state. In fact, it was never even physically released for a PlayStation exclusive or anything like that. There is, however, 3 different versions of Final Fantasy 3. And this is more or less like a DS version, because that was when it first came out. Then later on it got released for the PSP, followed by a Steam release. Now, while on the one hand, I do not have a DS capture card, so in other words, I can't record Kingdom Hearts 3 through the DS. There are, however, other ways that I can do this. For example, I can either play through the PSP with like a connector that hooks up to the Elgato, and I can record PSP games. That's one method that I can do. Or I can do a ROM PSP, which my best friend TJ recently started to get into, the ideal of being able to do an emulator for PSP. And he even talked about being able to play through Final Fantasy 1, 2, and 3 on the PSP emulator, as well as Crisis Core, which I thought was pretty awesome. But I thought to myself, I was like, well, technically I can't really record PC gaming until I found out that the OBS has the ability to record on your computer screen. Anything that shows up on your computer screen, it records it. And I thought to myself, I was like, this could actually be beneficial for me, because technically it doesn't use that much power at all. It may use, like, at most, I've noticed 20% of my CPU power. So that means that I have that much more power to use on anything else. So maybe using a PSP emulator might be the way to go if I can make it work. You know, I still have testing to do to see if it works. So Final Fantasy 3 might not happen after Final Fantasy 2, but I'm going to be looking into that route. And then, of course, there's the fact that you have the Steam version, which I can easily download Steam, because I've had it before, I just didn't have that many games downloaded at the time. I can easily download Steam to where I can play Final Fantasy 3 on Steam. So I can do one of the two, but I need to kind of think how I want to go about this, because on the one hand, my computer is good. Like, it's good the way it is right now. I'm just afraid to border its power limit, because on the one hand, I feel as if I feel like I'm pushing it too hard to where it might eventually burn out or something like that. And I don't want that to happen, because I spent $700 on the system itself. I like to at least have it for another 3 or 4 years if possible. But then again, it might be a good idea to try to upgrade some of its parts. It would not hurt to do that, so probably may do that sometime later on in the future, is upgrade some of its parts that it's got. But to that extent, though, like I said, my biggest goal is to stream all of the Final Fantasy games in order. Probably, I don't know about 3's case, but I do want to play through all the Final Fantasy games on Twitch stream, and then have it all on YouTube, because then I can say that, yes, I played all the Final Fantasy games on my channel. So that's something that I would like to do. Now, of course, there's also the fact that next year, I've already got 2 games lined up for games that I'm wanting to play as soon as they come out. There's Dissidia Final Fantasy NT, as well as Shadow of the Colossus. Now, those 2 games will be coming out on those particular dates that they're going to be coming out. The only issue is that I'm trying to decide if I want to stream on that day, or if I just want to go ahead and pick up that game as soon as it gets to be 10 o'clock, because that's what time GameStop opens to where I can pick up my pre-order. Now, admittedly, I could play through those 2 games on Twitch and it wouldn't be a problem. It's just a matter of time consumption. Keep in mind, I'm trying to get into that frame ideal starting from 9 and then stream all the way to 1 p.m. in the afternoon. But should things work out, we'll see what happens. Worst case scenario, I'll probably pick up that new release game the following afternoon after I get done streaming, and then after I pick it up, I'll probably stream that new release game the next following day, and then that way on a Tuesday we will continue the normal recording that I've been doing, and then the following Wednesday is the newly released game that I'll be playing probably. I'll do something along the lines. I haven't really decided on how I want to do it, but we'll see what happens, you know. It's just a matter of, like, we'll wait and see. Now, that's all the update that I want to go ahead and give you in terms of Twitch streaming, as well as the future of BlackCross gameplay. There is, however, a unfortunate incident that happened. Some of you remembered that me and Delmar are playing through Final Fantasy... Wow. That stayed in my head, didn't it? That stayed in my head right there. So, let's start that over, okay? You guys know that me and Delmar have been playing through the Kingdom Hearts series. We're already up to 2 Final Mix right now. And in terms of like recording, we're almost done recording for Kingdom Hearts 2. We were basically right at the point at the end of the video. We were just fixing to get ready to fight against Fexen, being that of organization member number 4. As I was getting ready to move the PlayStation 3 from my bedroom, or not from my bedroom, from the living room to my bedroom, for some reason or another, the PlayStation 3 ended up actually having an issue starting up, and in the long or short of it, it reformatted. For those of you that don't know what that means, reformat means that basically it does a system restore settings on the PS4 of some degree. The only thing that does not change is the network settings of the PlayStation 3 or system that you're using. When it reformats, it basically clears all data that existed on that system. This includes game data as well as game saved data. And it really bothered me. It messed me up so badly. I think I was probably out of it for like a good 2 hours. The first hour just trying to comprehend what just happened. And I was trying not to reformat it because I knew that if it reformatted, it would destroy all of the save data that we had. The only problem that being is that it wouldn't let me get on the PlayStation 3 unless I reformat it. It would not let me do anything. So I was like, fuck. I have to reformat it. So I was like... Because at this point in time, Delmar was playing through Hyperdimension Victory. And I was like... He was already on the last chapter. And he hadn't beaten it yet, and I destroyed his progression. Sorry, little brother. I didn't mean to destroy your save data. I'm sorry again. I apologized to him like 5 or 6 times at this point, but surprisingly he didn't look disappointed. Because even though he was going to do a review video on it, he said the ending wasn't really going to matter for the review. He just said he wanted to beat it just so that he can say on his channel that he beat Victory. Which I was like, yeah, I guess that makes sense in the long run when you look at it that way. But to that extent, he didn't look that disappointed because he told me that he leveled up wrong in Victory, which apparently in each of the games in terms of leveling up your stats and stuff, there are different ways of doing it, and he said that in Victory it's different than what it was in the previous games. So in other words, he's having to relearn it. But then whenever I told him that it got reformatted and his save data got deleted, he then said that, well, at least this time I can level up better. And I'm like, must have been that bad. Like, I'm not sure if it was or if it wasn't, but all I know is that he wasn't too traumatized like I was when it comes to the Kingdom Hearts save data. Like I said, keep in mind, as many parts as we did for Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix, there probably would have been at least 2 more videos that we could have done, and then we would have been done with Kingdom Hearts 2, and we would have moved on to Burst by Sleep by that point. But like I said, it reformatted itself, which means... I have to restart all over again. Yeah, I really hate myself. And originally, I thought about actually using a pre-saved data that someone might have had on the net, you know, use that. But then my heart sank and it said, no, don't do that. Don't. You're too much of a Kingdom Hearts fan to let this hurt you and to just pick someone's save data. It's okay if you wanted to use ROMs or hacks or stuff like that, but don't start pulling someone else's save data just to make up something like that happens. Just start from scratch and play through it again. And it's like, Yeah, I guess I can't I? So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be replaying through Kingdom Hearts 2 and try to get it back to where we were before it crashed or reformatted itself. So until further notice, which will probably be within the next month or so, I say me and Delmar will probably be starting up on Burst by Sleep at this point. I mean, it makes sense for us just to go ahead and continue playing through the Kingdom Hearts series and not have this be a block in the wall. Because, I mean, we're doing great on recording. We're doing really good on recording. It's just this kind of interrupted things. So I will be playing through Kingdom Hearts 2 to try to kind of get back to where we were. But for the time being, until further notice, we're going to move on to Burst by Sleep. I figured it just makes sense to go on ahead and move on to Burst by Sleep rather than anything else. So, yay for screw-ups, I guess. I don't know. But at the same time, I figure I'd go ahead and bring this subject up as well. No one has voted on the poll that I've got set up for the Kingdom Hearts Burst by Sleep. Like I said before, we're not going to be completing it 3 different times. We're only going to be fighting the secret bosses with one of the 3 characters, being that of Terra, Aqua, and Fen. What I want you guys to do is that if you want me to play through those secret bosses, I want you to choose from one of the 3 characters from Kingdom Hearts Burst by Sleep. Whether it be Terra, Aqua, or Ven. Choose from any of those 3, and then I'm not sure about the due date that we're going to have it on, but I imagine as we get closer to Aqua storyline, I'll go ahead and come up with a end date for you guys to hurry up and make a vote as to which character I should use to beat the secret bosses. In which case, we'll use that character to beat the secret bosses of. So, yeah, that's kind of the ideal going right now. It's hard to say if any of it is going to work out in the long run, but the good news is that Twitch is going to happen. Like I said, I'm going to start at 9 a.m. Tuesday morning and Wednesday morning, and it's going to end at 1 p.m. in the afternoon. Depending on the situation, of course. It's hard to say at the moment right now. It may change later on. I don't know. All I know is that this is what I want to do. I've been wanting to do it for a long time, and here it is right now. It's finally going to happen. The other thing is that the Kingdom Hearts 2 playthrough is going to be on halted for the time being. So whenever we get to the point where I'm back where we were, I will finish it off and have that added onto the playlist. But for the time being, we're going to move on to the Kingdom Hearts series and get into Kingdom Hearts Burst by Sleep. So that being said, that's about it that I wanted to go ahead and say. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. This is BlackCross signing off. Take care, guys.